Welcome to this very special edition of Inside the Heat. I am Jason Jackson, here in Springfield, Massachusetts, outside the earthly home of the game's immortals, the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. And now among its over 300 members is Ray Allen. Now, his Hall of Fame resume was littered with basketball wonder well before he hit the greatest shot in Miami Heat history. So it is perfect that we're here just 50 miles north of where it all began for Ray on a national stage.
As a kid, we moved to Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter, South Carolina, where I learned to take my game to another level. At Hillcrest High School is where I groomed my talents. Those days were where I made a lot of my growth. I spent the summers playing AAU ball, which attracted many coaches from around the country. And one in particular, Coach Jim Calhoun.
I saw him get 62 points against Riverside Church, one of the famous AU programs in the country. And I said, boy, I'd like to have that guy.
And in 1993, he got it. 3 years later, Ray led the Huskies to a conference championship.
Allen with Iverson on him, throws one up and
I watched him at Connecticut where he shot the basketball. He had a lot of confidence with it. Just a pure out deadly shooter.
He is still the best three-point shooter in the history of the school. Ray's curiosity about the world, about basketball, about learning, are almost unmatched by any person I've ever been around. He wanted to be great at everything.
What was the most important basketball realization you had at UConn?
I'm looking at the NBA at the time. This is 95, 96. The Black Cat is in the game, and we play the same position. In college, what I realized is if I can dominate this environment, then as I get to the next level, I'll figure it out.
The Minnesota Timberwolves select Ray Allen.
Almost immediately after being drafted, Ray was traded to the Bucks.
Boy's got the shooting eye with him today.
He was difficult to face. He was very good at taking the ball, shooting from deep. He was going to be running all day.
Facing Ray, you had to know where he was on the court at all times. He was such a deadly threat.
You were a child in a military family. You moved around a great deal. How did that shape you?
You know, when you move throughout the world, you see different cultures. When you start playing a sport, you find a way to fit in. You have to be a great individual, but at the same time, you have to be a great team player. You have to be selfishly unselfish. Traveling has certainly helped me realize that.
Those travels led him to D.C., where he won the NBA All-Star Weekend's three-point contest.
You know, Milwaukee was like my growing up phase. It was such a blessing because I learned that those small cities build your character.
Check this out, New Jersey, same old Ray.
So as I moved to Seattle, I got a younger team, and now I had to really learn to be a leader.
Ray focused on running the floor and ball movement amongst his young team.
Oh, going against Ray, you know you're going to chase him off screens. He's going to be great in pick and roll, always running the floor.
I disliked facing him. I mean, Ray was somebody who constantly moved on the basketball floor.
He was one of the toughest covers that I had in my 13-year career.
You know, my time in Seattle was cut short. It was the best thing in the world that happened because we get traded to Boston.
With Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce at his side, it was time to put in some serious work for a ring.
I mean, I used to sit there in the games and watch and thought, man, he's working so hard just to get the ball. He was a great worker. He was a perfectionist, OCD.
We assume work ethic in a military family might be a little different than standard operating procedure. How much of that filtered into your early success?
I always was afraid of my dad. Everything that we did kind of went up the ladder. My whole life, that was always my thinking. I was like, I can't do this because it's going to happen or this is going to affect our family. If you weren't helping the team, you're hurting the team.
His presence just made other players on the team better.
I said I wanted to win a championship, but I didn't know what it meant. And then we won. It was like the greatest dream come true because being on the other side of it, you really feel like you're part of something. And it was a privilege to be a part of it.
In 2011, he would become part of the record books, breaking Reggie Miller's record for the most three-pointers made in NBA history.
2,561, the NBA record.
To be in the building while he broke that, I mean, what more can I say? You want to lay the foundation for the rest of these great players to come behind you. He is arguably the greatest shooter ever, and I hope people understand that.
The way the world works, it gives you what you need, and then once you don't need it anymore, it's time for you to kind of reinvent yourself and move on.